Good morning.
Morning. Good morning. Good morning.
This is where Wisconsin wakes up. It's Daybreak with Brian Noonan and Jamie Martinson. Here are your hosts, Brian and Jamie.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It is 6:06. You are listening to the Civic Media Network. I am Jamie Martinson.
And good morning. I'm Brian Noonan. Jamie, I'm very excited today for the show. I'm wearing a new gift. I got a brand new pair of black Florsheims yesterday. They are about 2 sizes too big, but I have an apple in them, so I have breakfast and footwear all in the same thing. It's very, it's a happy
Very
Thursday.
exciting. And you look like
Yes.
you're wearing your dad's shoes. It's fine.
I do. My dad had a size 17, according to this gift giver, and I can't, I can't really take them back or tell them I can't wear them. So I'm just going to slide
that would be
around.
insulting. We wouldn't want to hurt anybody's feelings by telling them that you can't wear the shoes.
That would be silly. So now I have slip and slides on my feet, and it's I'm
perfect.
sure it's going to be terrific. It's going to
It'll
be a great day.
At least we sit a lot in this job, so you don't actually have to try to walk in them.
That's true. That is true. So welcome. We've got another jam-packed show, a lot to get to, as always. So why don't we start with some headlines from Iran? This is the latest coming out of there overnight. Iran has ramped up retaliatory attacks on energy supplies with strikes on 2 foreign oil tankers in Iraqi waters. The UK's maritime agency said another vessel in the Persian Gulf was struck, the 6th in the last 2 days.
I don't know about you, but this doesn't feel like things are ramping down like this administration keeps trying to tell us.
That's because he hasn't decided to end them yet, Jamie.
Oh, that's
how
right.
it
It's all
works.
on his word. I understand.
That's
We'll
right.
talk
That's
about
how
that
a
later
war
this
works.
morning. So also in news headlines, oil climbed above $100 overnight. That jump came despite the International Energy Agency agreeing to release a record 400 million barrels of oil from reserves into the global market.
Well, we talked about this last week. That's fine in the very short term, but the amount of oil needed every day, that's just a drop in the bucket. So it's and it goes then to deplete your emergency reserve. So it's not really going to help, which is
it's like a dog chasing its tail at this point.
Yeah,
I mean, you're never going to catch up. You're going to end up in this never-ending cycle is essentially what's going to happen over the next few weeks, especially with the oil.
Well, the good news is, Jamie, that President Trump has been repeating his claim that the U.S. has won the war, even as the conflict widens. Quote, "It's just a question of when. When do we stop?" he said.
This isn't going to be like one of those other moves that this administration has made where they go in, they create chaos, then they say, oh, we're done, and then they just leave it to everybody else to figure out. Is it?
This one's, well, it can't. It's too far down the road. We're pot committed. We joined in with Israel. We've started this war. All of these countries are affected. The whole world's economy is being affected. So, he could say we're done all he wants, but until he can't say in one sentence we're done and then we're going to keep attacking. We're going to go deeper. We're going to decide what's going. It doesn't work that way. But in his mind, it does.
Hopefully we have people at the helm, though, who understand how this works. I would love to say we do. I would love to be more definitive in that answer, and
Okay.
I cannot be. I cannot be.
Fair enough.
All I have is a little hope, a glimmer even. Also in news headlines, at least 10 security defenders were killed in Israeli drone strikes against the Israeli Royal Guard checkpoints in Tehran. That's according to Iran's satellite-affiliated Fars news agency.
State affiliated.
I'm sorry, state affiliated.
That's
there
okay.
We go.
If satellites are just sending us messages, that's another headline. We are getting messages from space. Kuwait's international airport was hit by several drones on Thursday morning, leading to material damage, the country's civil aviation authority said. And we're getting more details, and we're going to get into this story in depth. We're getting more details about the deadly bombing at the beginning of this whole thing, on the first day of the Iranian elementary school. You know that 165 people were killed in that attack, many of them children. It was one of the deadliest civilian casualty events linked to U.S. military action in the last 2 decades, if it is confirmed, and it seems to have been confirmed. But This is, Jamie, the reason that we're looking into this more today is because there's some outdated intelligence, which is when you put people who are not experienced in charge, bad things happen.
Absolutely. And now investigators are saying that U.S. Central Command relied on old targeting coordinates that had been provided by the Defense Intelligence Agency. So the school was actually located near the Iranian Revolutionary Guard military base, which was most likely the target. However, international law generally prohibits strikes on civilian buildings, including schools, even if they're located near military sites. So these satellite images show the school had clear visual markers identifying it as a civilian facility, including bright murals and visible school structures. And online maps and public records clearly identified the building as an elementary school. Now, President Trump, as we know, has initially blamed Iran for the attack, later said that he was unsure who was responsible, and then he said he would accept the results of the Pentagon's investigation. Well, yesterday, reporters asked him just this question. Here's what he had to say. This is cut one, please.
A new report says that the military investigation has found that the United States struck the school in Iran. As Commander-in-Chief, do you take responsibility for that?
That is what?
As Commander-in-Chief, do you
For what?
for the strike on the school in Iran? A new report says the military investigation has found it was the United States that struck the school.
I don't know about it.
I don't know about it.
I don't know about it. Never heard of it. Not keeping up with it. Did I tell you I parred hole 3 the other day? Oh, okay.
Well, because when that school was being attacked, that's exactly what he was doing. That's not hyperbole. He was actually on a golf course in the middle of that attack when that school was being was literally under siege in this conflict, this war.
After he was in his pillow fort down in Mar-a-Lago, impersonating a situation room. It's you don't have to see. Here's the thing: we don't have to make these things up about him.
No,
he does it himself. It sounds like we're making it up because most rational people go, that can't be true. Oh, well, it is. There was the sound right there. He hasn't heard about it, which doesn't, I actually believe him. I'm sure they come in, Mr. President, we just got the new report. Listen, I don't want to hear about it. It was probably Iran. If it wasn't Iran, I'm not going to say. So don't tell me. The less I know, the better. That's how I've lived my whole life, knowing less.
Which is, honestly, that's a dangerous way to live for any human being, let alone the president of the United States. Let's be honest. But I mean, this is a danger to aggressive military action without fully listening to intelligence experts, career officials. These people are trained to prevent mistakes like this. And in situations that you have basically perpetuated and started, this is going to move quickly. And so decisions are going to have to be made quickly. And those decisions need to be guided by accurate information, some pretty careful analysis, and experienced voices inside government. And right now, we don't have those people at the helm of whatever this situation is or is going to be down the road.
And I don't know this for a fact. This is a hypothesis, but based on Hegseth's demeanor, I'm sure there was discussion. Do we need to plot out and get new intelligence on the maps? Do we need to reconfirm our targets so that we know we've already done it, bro? We're going to crush it. Just go in and do it, and whatever happens, happens. And again, that's just given his attitude, given his
cavalier attitude,
very cavalier attitude, and how he has just talked about the war so far like it's just a game. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody made that mention and it was vetoed somewhere in the chain of command to just go, no, we already have a map, we already have targeting info, go with it.
And more than 45 Democratic senators at this point have actually demanded answers from the administration about what happened and whether U.S. military caused this attack. And obviously, it got a lot more attention after initial reporting revealed that the preliminary findings were that the U.S. may have been responsible for this strike, no matter what the president says. Lawmakers are also raising concerns that recent Pentagon staffing and budget cuts may have weakened some of these safeguards meant to prevent the civilian civilian casualties.
Chainsaw.
Wow. Just like what we've been talking about over the last couple of days, if you've been listening to this program, it's weird what happens when you lose those people in certain key parts of your administration, even if they don't think that, you don't believe that they are aligned with your vision, your mission, whatever you think is happening, your agenda. These people are in their positions for a very good reason, and it's to prevent things like this.
It's a tragic event. I mean, there is the one way of thinking that, every time we're in a war, there are mistakes made. The difference this time is not taking responsibility. It's not even an accident. Accident is the wrong term because it makes it seem so accidental. Right. We were bombing things. We hit the wrong target. We screwed up. That's the line you have to take. Hey, we take responsibility. We deeply apologize. This was not our intent. Unfortunately, it happens in war. It is not, but you have to treat it with the gravity that it deserves. This was a horrible, horrible miscalculation on the United States' part, and to then brush it off because, God forbid, anything comes out that you made a mistake. We can never question dear leader or his minions about a mistake, and this was clearly the worst kind of mistake you can make, and we're just going to deny.
Now, critics are saying that there were several cuts to what's called the Civilian Protection Center of Excellence, and that was a Pentagon office created to reduce civilian harm during military operations, and the cuts to that agency may have reduced the oversight. And former officials say the office had been working on updating no-strike lists on civilian sites, but that work slowed or stopped after the staffing reductions. Thank you very much to the Doge operation, right? So when we start basically diminishing those voices, this is where you get these catastrophic mistakes, and you are going to continue to see those. And honestly, here's what I'm going to say. We're, 11, 12 days into this thing? I'm surprised.
Yeah, it'll be 2 weeks on Saturday. I'm
surprised we haven't heard more of things that the U.S. has accidentally or didn't know. And I fully expect there to be more of those stories coming out as this progresses because of the fact that this administration doesn't really understand what they're doing. They don't have the right people in place. And because of the cuts to offices just like the Civilian Protection Center, right? Like, I fully expect there to be more of these stories to come out in the news headlines in the next few days, weeks, as this goes on.
Well, why would we fund and worry about civilians in other countries? We're bombing them. We don't need to worry about them.
Well, we're tough.
We're just
Everything's
saving
good
money
here at home. America first and
Jamie,
all of
we're
that.
crushing it. I don't know if you know that. We're crushing it. And by crushing, I mean U.S. citizens trying to buy things like gas and food and electricity and housing.
I mean, and here's the other thing, too. When you look at where the U.S. is on the world stage, this is about our credibility. We have responsibility, and we have moral standards to everybody across the globe. That doesn't seem to matter now.
We don't. We have, please. We're here. We're in it for ourselves. Hey, when we come back, Dodge County Sheriff and DHS are denying
All facts, no fiction. It's Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
6:22 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We do appreciate it, having a little weather talk in between segments here.
Yeah, the show within the show.
Got a little snow headed our way, it looks like, according to the maps. Much colder temperatures by Monday. It looked, we had like 70 degrees, and then we're going to go down to less than around 20 degrees by Monday, and then we spike right back up, it looks like, by the end of the week. So it's that fun time of the year.
It's coming in like a lion. Hopefully it does go out like a lamb this March.
It's like weather roulette this time of year.
I told you, pardon me if you were in the show within a show. Yesterday, within, an hour and a half, I went from just cloudy, cold, and misty to grapple to then full-on snow, then bright sunshine. It was like every season within an hour and a half. And
That's
I had
fun,
whiplash.
though. Keeps you guessing. Keeps you guessing.
I don't want to guess, Jamie. I got to know. Listen, there's enough uncertainty in the
There
world
is.
right now. I want to look at my forecast at the beginning of the day and then move on with my day. I needed to bring every piece of outerwear I owned yesterday. I had boots, I had sandals, I had a sun hat, I had mucklucks. It was unbelievable.
Well, it was variety, though. It was variety, and you didn't get bored. That's for
Well,
sure.
my life
yesterday.
did not seem spicier after that day. Hey, this is very interesting. It's a big case of they said, she said. The federal immigration officials and the Dodge County Sheriff are denying that they held a U.S. citizen for more than 30 hours at O'Hare Airport, then released her onto the street in rural Wisconsin in the middle of the night. Now, that all despite her family providing evidence that her apparent location was inside detention centers. Yes, this story has been going on for a while.
Yeah.
And it seems, boy, you hate to have mistrust in your government agencies, don't you, Jamie? But
Well, do you trust this DHS to actually tell people the truth?
no.
No.
And this is
me neither.
it's going to come down to who do you believe? The government officials, which is Dodge County Sheriff and the immigration officials, or do you trust big tech?
Right.
And
Well,
and somebody's actual, testimony.
there's that part of it, too. So family and friends of Summer Sundas, or Sunny Nakweev, is 28 years old. She was born in Evanston, Illinois. She provided this detailed account of what she says that extended an illegal and extended detention at O'Hare led to the Broadview Immigration Facility in Illinois and then to the Dodge County Jail between March 5th and March 7th. Now, there's been no reason for her to be detained, according to her or the family and everybody involved in this particular case. Now, Sunny had just returned from this international work trip where she and 5 colleagues were detained at the airport. That's according to her family friend. His name is Kevin Morrison, and he is the Cook County Commissioner. And there was a news conference that was held on Sunday, Brian.
Yes.
And 2 of the colleagues are U.S. citizens, and 3 are legal permanent residents, according to Morrison. Now, here is what Morrison had to say on Sunday describing part of Sunny's incident. This is cut 2, please.
We had present here both Broadview and Cook County Sheriff's Police who ICE directly lied to their faces, saying that no woman had ever been brought to this facility, nor had been detained. They lied throughout. I had been in communication with an immigration attorney who was in direct contact with someone at the U.S. Attorney General's office. They asked for Sunny's phone number so they could search the facility for her phone. About 10 minutes later, the phone opened, text messages were read, and the phone was turned off, and we lost her location. Around 20 minutes later, they allowed 2 Cook County Sheriff's Police entry to show them empty cells. It is our belief that it was during that time that they began moving the 6 individuals from Broadview to an immigration facility in Wisconsin.
Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, Broadview is where, if you saw it on the news, Broadview is a facility that it has and continues to have all sorts of protests. That was when ICE came to Chicago, they set it up in Broadview, which is southwest of the city. It's close to the city, but it's a nearby suburb, and that's where that's that detention center. So that's what they're talking about.
And where this gets even more interesting is that the Department of Homeland Security, as you alluded to, and the Dodge County Sheriff, Dale Schmidt, has said in public statements that were released earlier this week that Sunny's claims are absolutely false. Now, Sunny's sister, Sarah, said at the same news conference that jail officials also repeatedly denied that Sunny was in custody, even though her phone location appeared to have pinged from inside the buildings. This was Sarah on Sunday at the same conference. Cut 3, please.
We kept being lied to our faces. We were told that she wasn't here. We saw her location on smack dab in the middle of the facility. We saw her location in Wisconsin in the middle of the facility. The cops were lying to our faces. They were saying, we were asking them, hey, her location is here. we were in contact with her, and they kept being like, I don't know what to tell you.
Wow.
We lost her. We don't know. She's gone.
So, like you said at the beginning, who do you believe? Do you believe Sonny and the 5 other detainees that were with her, or do you believe the tech? I mean, either way, they're both telling you the same story. So I don't know if at that point you can say that if one person is lying. This is insane.
It is insane, and it doesn't seem possible that if, like, I don't know how the tracking works on the phone. I don't have anybody tracking, but Debbie does it with Molly all the time. Molly asked Debbie to put it on her phone, so I know it's really accurate. No matter where you are, it is accurate. So unless there were multiple mishaps and technological glitches that night, it doesn't seem like there would be that much. And then they just got a call that she was at a gas station. They
just left her there. Somebody come pick her up.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So how'd she get there? How'd she end up at a gas station in Wisconsin?
Especially when she was never booked, according to the Dodge County Sheriff.
Yeah, no record. No record at all.
Weird.
Yeah, more to come after this. It's Daybreak on the Civic.
Across the state of Wisconsin, Daybreak with Brian and Jamie is back.
6:35 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you are in Wausau listening on WXCO or in Richland Center on WRCE or even Hayward on WBZH, we are certainly glad that you are joining us this morning. And remember, Brian, you can always get our free app if you don't want to listen over the air. You want to take us wherever you go. You can get it just by downloading it at your Apple Store, your Google Store, totally free. You can listen to all of our great talk programming as well as all of our music stations. And we have to make sure, we would be remiss this morning if we did not mention that we are on Facebook now.
And Instagram. Don't forget
Instagram,
that.
that's right.
where all the cool kids are. And by cool
That's
kids, I
what I'm
mean
told.
middle-aged men and women who are trying to be cool and they don't understand TikTok. So, yes, we're on all of those. And listen, since we're doing some shameless plugs, let's tell everybody that they want to start listening. Well, they want to start listening right now.
Yes.
But on Monday, we are launching a multi-state contest. It's a text to win contest, and we'll give you more details as it gets closer. But to play, you're going to need the app. So as Jamie said, download that app now, and you'll get more details. But Monday, a big multi-state. That means more than one state. Just for all the legalese. I'm going to explain it in plain English. Lots of people are going to be entering this contest. They might not all live in Wisconsin, but you will have a chance to win if you have the app.
Yes.
And then we will explain all the rules as we get closer.
Like, I don't want to give too much away, but we're talking maybe cash and like a really great grand prize. So
There's a grand prize.
Yes, daily
there is
cash
money.
prizes and a really big grand prize. So be listening on Monday for your chance to play along, text and win, and have your app all fired up and ready to go.
All right. Now let's get to work, because if you had a child, or if you are a person who is paying off your student loans, during the Biden administration, you got some pretty good news, because the SAVE Act, and not the election one that they're trying to push through now. This was the Saving on a Valuable Education plan. The Biden administration put it in, and it was going to lower the monthly bills to millions of student loan borrowers. It was supposedly one of the most affordable repayment plans ever created. Well, guess what? They're taking that away.
We can't have nice things in this world.
We can't. So a federal judge has decided that we are done with this, and it is going to affect, well, millions of people.
Over 7 million people.
Yeah.
This is interesting because this was through the U.S. Court of Appeals, and it was through the 8th Circuit. They actually reversed a lower court's dismissal of a Republican-led legal challenge against SAVE. And the Biden administration, if you remember, this was actually one of those really awesome plans that the Biden administration launched and rolled out for people to help people basically keep costs in control and to be able to go get a higher education and, achieve all of the things that maybe they've always wanted to achieve at no matter what age. Yeah. And they rolled this out in 2023. It was billed as the most affordable repayment plan ever created. And under that program, a lot of borrowers expected to see their monthly payments essentially cut in half.
So
then, of course,
for the critics, I'm sorry, let me just to
please
clarify,
jump in.
you were still paying back. You just
Yes.
couldn't. Your loan amount could not bypass 100% of what you owe. And you
Right.
know, if you're making student loan payments, it's mostly fees and interest.
Yes.
And even if you get it deferred, you're still paying that interest.
Right.
So this was just to basically cut back on the interest payments.
Yeah.
You were still paying back your principal. So for all the people, and listen, I assume that there are Republicans with student loan debt. I'm just going to
would
assume it.
think.
Don't know for a fact, but that's been the big argument. Why should we forgive any sort of
Right.
debt? I didn't go to college. I didn't do this. Well, you weren't forgiving the initial debt. You were forgiving all the ancillary stuff that
Yep.
that's why people are drowning. Even if they can make the principal payment, it's the other
Right.
stuff
and
that buries you.
And I knew actually a lot of people who took advantage of this SAVE plan with their student loans because of just what we're talking about, the interest that accrued over multiple years. Of course, as you can imagine, the Republicans didn't really like this plan.
Nope.
Because it made things more affordable for people, is just my guess off the top of my head. But that
And it
quickly
was
led.
they looked at it like charity.
They did.
And they don't like charity.
We wouldn't want to help anybody and, make the economy grow in any way, shape, or form. But they obviously quickly put up barriers and filed multiple legal suits against this particular SAVE bill. We're going to call it the bill because I don't want to get it confused with whatever the GOP are trying to do with the SAVE Act right now.
No.
But there were a lot of consumer advocates and borrowers that had hoped that last month's judgment meant the program would be temporarily revived. Now, if you want to know what happened, all you have to do is look at Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, because that is what essentially phases out the SAVE plan as of July 1st, 2028. More than 7 million student loan borrowers are still enrolled in the SAVE plan as of right now, according to the U.S. Department of Education. And now those borrowers were placed in forbearance during these legal challenges, meaning they weren't making any of their monthly payments. So their loans have been sitting there accruing more interest since August, which is completely unfair, ridiculous, especially when it was because of these lawsuits that are going to add on and tack on the fees for people who, actually have to pay that money back now.
Yep. Yeah, these borrowers who believed in this plan are getting screwed and that's nothing new, really, when it comes to any sort of debt. We are all bogged down in interest rates and fees and everything else that goes with it. But to put your trust in it, and then through no fault of your own, it's not like they missed payments from August till now. They were trusting in a government program that had been assured them to, again, still pay back your loan. That's what we have to remember.
And I don't know if this would surprise you or not, but I did a little digging into how this plan actually worked.
Somehow I see spreadsheets. I see one of those green accountant visors.
Nerd alert.
Thank you. I don't get into numbers that much because math is hard for me, but I did do a little basic. And just for anybody who's not familiar with how this worked, borrowers typically saved at least $1,000 a year, which comes out to about $83 a month. And so for a lot of people who were just graduating, just trying to get their feet back underneath of them after going to school, and were earning modest incomes, the savings were even bigger, about $102 a month compared to older repayment plans. And for some lower income borrowers, monthly payments were reduced to $0 because if you earned $32,800 a year or less, or a family of four making about $67,000 per year, you could qualify for 0 monthly payments. Now, that plan also cut student loan payments for undergrad loans in half, from about 10% to a discretionary income down to about 5%. And that made higher education debt, as you can imagine, a lot more attainable and manageable for millions of people across this country. Why do we not want people to be educated? That's my question.
Well, the answer is sad and simple. Educated people tend to think for themselves. Educated people have opinions. Educated people will speak out when they see something that is wrong, no matter where you are on the political spectrum or the social spectrum. If you see what you consider an injustice, educated people can speak out about it. Used to be with intelligent arguments. Now it's just internet memes, but same kind of thing, because an intelligent citizenry is going to question your misinformation, and we don't want that here. And because this started, I really remember it, and I'm going back to the first Trump campaign, when anybody with a intelligent thought was called an East Coast elite, and suddenly it became bad to be smart. Now, growing up, Jamie, you and I are old enough, and I don't know how it was, Parker, when you were coming up. Intelligence was admired. Like, the smartest kids in school were like, man, that kid's really smart. And it wasn't said with disdain. It was kind of said with a hushed awe, because you couldn't believe it. I can still remember the names of some of the smartest kids I went to school with,
Yes,
because they were brilliant. And I'm always amazed, because I think I'm fairly intelligent, but I'm nowhere near the smartest person around. And when I see the big brains on people, it's impressive. It doesn't threaten me.
right.
But it seems to be intelligence threatens people. Brilliance has been downplayed, and it's easier to just go along and pretend we're just part of the uneducated masses. And I don't know where that tipping point came, but it seemed about a decade ago.
I mean, education used to be a portal out of so many different situations, right? We used to put it on this pedestal that if we could get education, it could propel us into different parts of life. It could propel us into bigger things, no matter where you came from. And we have essentially downgraded that because we don't want people smarter. And you also have to look at the fact that the GOP right now is okay with people not getting ahead, not being able to afford things, but yet at the same time saying, but we're not going to do anything to help you out. We want you to suffer, but we also don't want you to get better. So we just want you to live in this weird limbo where you're just stuck and you're reliant. And I don't understand when we went from wanting to achieve big things in this world to that being our mantra of how we wanted to move people forward and to keep them at a level of, in some cases, we're talking poverty type levels where if they just had the education, if they just had the means, if they just had a way, they are smart enough, they're capable that they could get themselves out of that. But we don't want that for them. And I think that's appalling. I think it's absolutely appalling that people are being forced into basically what certain parts of this government want them to be. And that's appalling, because nobody should be forced into that.
No. And I want to clarify something, because I know college is not for everybody.
Right.
And there's a lot of people with a lot of skills and a lot of brilliance that never went to college. And every time I see like a skilled tradesman, I'm in awe of them as much as I am somebody who came up with some sort of legal argument or a medical breakthrough. It's like, how do you know the intricacies of all of this? And it's because
incredible.
they are everybody. Education doesn't always mean books. It can mean life. It can mean physical things. And so that was not my point, because you don't have to have gotten a degree to be educated. And a lot of people can educate. They have natural intelligence. They have intelligence that is bolstered by other factors in life. And but I just, because that's also another argument. Well,
it is.
Everybody doesn't need to go to college. Yes, I know.
No, they don't. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. But it goes back to my same point. Why are we making everything harder for people? We've taken away their SNAP benefits for small business owners who are also equally as brilliant, maybe didn't go through the education path. We're making it harder to get health insurance to stay healthy. And it's all part of that same line of thinking that we don't want people to be better. We don't want them to be able to take care of themselves, but we are also not going to give you any programs because we think that you're lazy. What?
Right. A lot of texts coming in. One from Mark. He says, "Why is it okay?" It just jumped. What? Stop typing, Parker. Why is it okay to forgive business loans that went to guys like Robert Voss and then not be taxed on income? And Andrew, listening on WMDX, bailouts for corporations are okay. Loan forgiveness is bad.
Want to join in on the conversation? Call or text 855-75-CIVIC. Now back to Brian and Jamie.
It's 6:52 right now. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today on the Civic Media Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And good morning, I'm Brian Noonan. Glad you're with us. If you want to get involved in the program in any way, 855-75-CIVIC. That's 855-752-4842. Text line is jumping this morning. We get to as many as we can, so thank you for that, and thank you for the comments that are coming on the social media streams. You can always watch us on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you want to see what we look like early in the morning, we're pictures of beauty. This is good news because I can't imagine the trauma for a woman who's been sexually assaulted. It goes beyond my comprehension, thankfully. I can empathize, but that's as far as I can go. But Wisconsin sexual assault survivors now have more time to seek justice after a new law signed by Governor Evers. The law doubles the statute of limitations for second-degree sexual assault cases from 10 years to 20 years. And you may think, well, that seems like a really long time. There's a myriad of reasons that women do not report things right away. And you can argue till the cows come home whether they should, if it really happened, but they should go report it right away. Keep your mouth shut unless you've been in that position. That's my only advice on this one. And it's good advice in a lot of things,
Yes.
but really good advice in this kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, for some survivors, sometimes they're afraid. Sometimes they feel shame, even though the blame belongs entirely on the person who committed the crime. In some cases, they don't fully remember or understand the details of what happened to them for many years, and they have to piece it together because trauma's weird, and it kind of works that way sometimes.
Yeah.
So giving survivors more time to come forward isn't about punishing anyone unfairly. It's literally about recognizing the reality of trauma and how people heal. And this law also shows something that I think we need more of in this society, some empathy, because this is empathy for people who have experienced something deeply painful. It's also empathy for the fact that healing doesn't happen on a governmental timeline.
Right,
Go figure,
exactly.
right? And advocates of this particular law say that the change is important because a lot of survivors do need those years before they feel ready to report that assault. And in some cases, investigators also need the extra time to collect evidence or use some of that newer technology at their fingertips, like advanced DNA testing to help build some sort of case. Sometimes there's not a lot going into these cases, and they need some time to make that happen and make any sort of charges stick, so those survivors do get the justice that they deserve.
So for those who are wondering the difference, second-degree sexual assault in Wisconsin is a felony. It can carry up to 40 years in prison. That can be if the victim is under 16, if the assault involves a threat of violence, or the victim is unconscious or incapacitated because of drugs or alcohol. So there are no statute of limitations on first-degree sexual assault. That involves the most serious circumstances. So this is, and I don't want to say, when I say just second degree, that doesn't minimize that assault. It's just saying that's what this law encompasses, second degree.
Now, this new law also includes protections for victims and witnesses who report sexual assault. So if someone reports an assault, they can't be charged with minor drug or alcohol violations that happened at the time of the incident. That's also sometimes, that's a good point, why survivors don't come forward. Because they're like, oh, I was out at a bar. I'd had a couple of drinks. Will anybody believe me? Did I do anything? I mean, it's a whole...
Or I was using some sort of substance that is illegal, and I don't want to draw that in, and that's not an excuse for you to be attacked. Just,
No.
you know.
It's a whole process survivors and victims go through. Advocates say that this is an important stipulation, though, with the drug or the alcohol violation, because a lot of survivors won't report because they don't want to get in trouble, especially if they're underage. Yeah. And so that also makes a big difference. Another part of this makes it easier for survivors to break their lease if they need to move because they feel unsafe in their current housing situation. Sometimes there's stalking incidents that take place with these crimes. And supporters say the changes are meant to remove barriers that essentially keep survivors coming forward and to give prosecutors more time to hold offenders accountable. Now, I think
and
this is
10 years sounds like 10 years does sound like a long time. But the biggest issue, and you said this, Jamie, and you're right, trauma is different for everyone. And breakthroughs or memories or finally talking to somebody who convinces you that it wasn't your fault and you can move forward. That takes time, as well as the investigations. These are painstaking, unless there's video of somebody doing it, which, rare, I'm guessing. It takes time to do a proper investigation. So now 20 years, cases may never go that long, but it's good to have that buffer.
And I would venture to say that even if you don't know it, somewhere in your life you have someone, most of us have someone who has been is a survivor or has been assaulted in some capacity. And so a law like this is not just good for the survivors. This is good for all of us, because when people who do commit these serious crimes know that there's more time for those crimes to be investigated and potentially prosecuted, it makes it harder for them to escape some sort of accountability. Mm-hmm. And sexual assault offenders are often repeat offenders. Giving law enforcement and prosecutors more time to build a case can actually stop patterns and also protect other people who might be victims down the road. And laws like this say something important about who we are as communities too, right? If we're willing to listen to those survivors, then we understand that healing is something that takes time.
Well, it's good we're doing it on a state level, because we are not believing victims on the federal level.
No,
and international level, it seems better. But ladies, take this as a win, because you're taking a lot of losses between your health rights and your voting rights. And so good on Evers and good on the Assembly for passing this.
Wisconsin wakes up here. Back to Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
7:06 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Hopefully you are having a great start to your Thursday. Hey, it's Friday Eve. I always like to point out the little highlights of life because, well, we all need something to look forward to.
Okay. Well, that's baseline. It's great. That's terrific. It is almost Friday, which is nice. Here's another highlight. If you download the Civic Media app, you can catch up on all the great interviews that we do. You can hear full podcasts. Yesterday, we had a great conversation about Discourse Coffee in Milwaukee becoming unionized with no issues. The ownership actually said, yeah, okay, you guys all want to be a union, we'll take care of you. So you can do that. You can listen to shows, our show, of course. You can take us with you everywhere. You can listen to Nightlight and all the other great shows on the network, and you can listen to some music. So download that, because you are going to need it come Monday. Monday, we start a huge I almost said multinational. It's multi-state.
No, just multi-state.
Well, we don't know. Maybe somebody's listening on the app over in Yugoslavia, and they go, this Brian and Jamie, they sound very good. I'm going to enter the contest.
They could do that.
I don't know who's going to deliver the prize. So it's a multi-state text-to-win contest, but you'll need the app to enter. There's daily cash prizes. There's a huge grand prize. We'll give you more details as it gets closer. But the point is, get the app, because you're missing out, and it's free and it's fun and there's graphic and oh my goodness.
There's all sorts of things happening over there. And when it comes to the Text to Win contest that starts on Monday, you're going to have multiple chances to qualify for daily cash prizes and then, of course, the big grand prize. So imperative at this point that you have your app, you know how it runs, and you're ready to roll on Monday so that you can, get in on all this.
And if you're a listener of a certain certain age, and I understand I am of a certain age, and technology sometimes is scary. Find a young person on the street, accost them, and say, "Listen, youngster." Go, walk up to an Amish-looking man in a plaid shirt. He wanders up and down the State Street of Madison, and say to him, "You look like Parker. Parker, explain this to me. Get me this app. Where do I go? Do I go to the grocery store? Can I get this app at Quick Trip?"
No, old man, you can't go to the grocery store.
Where do I buy this app?
You just go to your app store. You can get it wherever you get your apps.
Can you give me directions to the app store? Because I've got my car parked on the next block.
It's a little box. It's probably at the bottom of your phone screen. You have to be on the home screen. You'll figure it out. I trust.
I have to be at home to get this app.
If you
I heard Jamie say I could use it anywhere. Brian said something about Yugoslavia, and we're going on an overseas trip.
You can text from Yugoslavia. I know we have international listeners sometimes.
Of course.
Yeah.
But
do you know what the best part about this entire conversation is? Watching the pain on Parker's face, because it's obvious he's been through a conversation exactly like this in real life, not just for a radio bit.
I have
No
too.
comment.
I've been in Parker's shoes with this. Going, oh no,
Yeah.
forget it. You don't need it.
Just go to your app store, look up Civic Media. You'll find it. Find a station. Hit
Civil-
that text feature,
civil
and then
what?
you text in a keyword. Oh boy.
Key. I had to text key. That's what I have to text.
No, please just spell the word right. That's all I ask.
RIGHT.
Good job, Brian. You get a cookie.
Okay, I spelled the word right. You heard him, Jamie. That's
You
what he
did.
asked for. Hey, we're laughing now, but if you voted in Milwaukee, oh my goodness, you should be a little worried, because the FBI, the feds, nearly 180,000 Milwaukee voters who cast absentee ballots during the 2020 presidential election could have their voting information exposed if federal investigators demand certain election records. Oh, let's go back. The president continues to relitigate the 2020 election after years of investigations, recounts, court cases. You know, there is no proof, none, of widespread election fraud yet. On February 23rd, while honoring Angel families, he again claimed the election was rigged. Cut 4.
And I'm here now, and it's a much more powerful term than my second term would be. And much more powerful. And one of the reasons is everybody sees how bad they were. And I had to go through, and I still do, fake stories, fake polls. I mean, I had polls for the election that showed I was going to get swamped, and I won in a landslide. They were fake polls because polls are tough, you know, when you get a fake poll. I get them today. I saw one today that I'm at 40%. 40%. I'm not at 40%. I'm at much higher than that. I'm not talking politics. I'm just talking life. If that election, if it wasn't rigged, it was a rigged election by millions and millions of votes. A guy that never left his basement. It was all run by crooked people. COVID was a little bit of a shield. We had a lot of things going on. But it was rigged by millions of votes. We did great in that election.
Wait, it was
If that election wasn't rigged, every single one of the people in this room right now would not be here. You'd be home with your son, daughter, family.
Huh? What?
There's a lot to parse through.
He's a rambling, incoherent...
That was to Angel families, too, by the way, which I'm sure they... anyway.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yes. You know, and here's the thing. This president does continue to relive 2020 over and over and over. We are 6 years past it. There is nothing that has not been looked at, examined, debunked,
God,
that would indicate that there was any sort of fraud or manipulation or any sort of rigged election that happened along the way. And we know that there is concern because the FBI issued a grand jury subpoena in Maricopa County, Arizona, seeking voting data related to the 2020 election. That actually makes Arizona the second battleground state where federal investigators have demanded election records. We saw what happened in Fulton County, Georgia, where authorities seized hundreds of boxes of materials from that warehouse, which was another key state in the 2020 election.
Jamie, do you think he... No, the I have a legit question.
Yes. Okay.
Do you think he believes that if he can somehow prove that the 2020 election was rigged, he will get another term? But he's already served 2 terms, so legally
I just don't think
legally he's not allowed to. But
I just don't think this is a man whose ego can handle the fact that he lost. I honestly think that is part of it, based on the fact
is that why he keeps his hair too?
Probably based on the fact that he just went through that entire when we were listening to that clip from February 23rd about the polls, how he's not actually down to 40%. I actually think this is a man who thinks that he is much loved. I think, and he is by some of his supporters. I'm not going to deny that. But I think this is a man who thinks that he is much bigger than what he's an enigma. I think that's what
it's illusions of grandeur, I think, is what you're looking for.
Yes, thank you. But I actually don't think he can handle the fact that he lost. And I think that's where this all stems from, because he had beaten Hillary Clinton the election before. I think he honestly thinks he did a really great job pulling this country through COVID. Of course, he'll tell you that he did what no president had ever done before, which he does on multiple things. But I honestly think it was all about the fact that he lost publicly. And to him, that is humiliating. His ego will not allow that.
He didn't win the last election in a landslide.
No.
Just another point of clarification, but
yeah,
why bother?
Now, here in Wisconsin, Brian, let's be clear, there is no similar action like what we've seen in Maricopa County or in Fulton County, but elections officials say that they are watching this very closely in case this investigation expands to Milwaukee. Now, if federal investigators request records from Milwaukee, it could involve poll books and roughly 176,000 absentee ballots that were actually counted at the city's central counting facility during the 2020 election. And let's be clear, our laws here in Wisconsin convolute this. They make it very hard. There's been GOP and Democratic support to basically streamline central count, to allow counting to start happening earlier. None of those have gotten through the state legislature. But Wisconsin law right now requires absentee ballots counted at central locations to include poll list numbers, which correspond with the poll book records. And all of those numbers could potentially allow investigators to match ballots with specific voters, raising concerns about voter privacy. All of that was done to debunk, by the way, any claims that anything nefarious happened in 2020. Now, Milwaukee Election Commission Executive Director Paulina Gutierrez said that protecting voter privacy is the top priority, and the city is monitoring the situation very carefully. And normally, ballots from elections older than 5 years would have been destroyed under state law, but the 2020 ballots still exist because obviously there's still been ongoing lawsuits, challenges, all aspects of that particular election. Some election officials say that the combination of poll books and ballots could theoretically reveal how someone voted, which is normally protected by ballot secrecy. And, of course, we know that ballots in Milwaukee are part of the same votes in Milwaukee and Dane counties that Donald Trump challenged during the 2020 election when he actually requested a recount and paid for that. And remember, associated with that recount, Brian, going way back in time, there's been several people who have lost law licenses because of that. There's been people who have ended up losing positions of power because of that recount. And yet here we are. But I think this is interesting because Donald Trump has been rolling out the same claims about the election for a very long time. So we're going to go into our Wayback Machine here for a moment, and we're going to go back to November 5th, 2020, as he addressed the nation as those election results began shifting towards Joe Biden. This is Donald Trump from 2020. This is Cut 5 and what he had to say.
We also had margins of 300,000 and Michigan, we're way up in Michigan, won the state. And in Wisconsin, we did likewise fantastically well. And that got whittled down. In every case, they got whittled down.
Yes, because that's how counting works.
Yeah, vote. Well, Matt, Jamie, you've said it for yourself, and I also agree. Math is hard. So if I was winning at one point, I should stay winning. Why don't we just stop counting then? I'm up. That's good enough.
It's amazing. You go to bed, you're winning, you wake up, the counting has proceeded while you've been sleeping.
Are you talking about ballot dumps, Jamie? Ballot dumps are, all of a sudden, where'd these all come from? I don't know. Because of Wisconsin's law where you can't count the ballots until, election day. So that's where they came from.
Mm-hmm. Now, in case anybody's wondering, Tony Evers actually, in an address yesterday, he gave some brief remarks to the press.
In an address, or Tony Evers was wearing a dress?
It
sounded like you said, Tony Evers in a dress yesterday. I was like, wow, he really has given up in his final term.
He has. He said his administration will actually resist any efforts by the FBI to seize voting documents if federal authorities expand their probe of the 2020 election results to Wisconsin. Tony Evers actually at a podium said he was PO'd by all of this.
Dag nabbit. I will not put up with these shenanigans.
And yes, Parker, that was a quote. He was PO'd yesterday when he was addressing the press. But, they've been trying to get the administration, is the they I'm referring to, has been trying to get Wisconsin's voter rolls for quite some time. They have been making threats to Tony Evers, to Milwaukee County officials. And so far, Tony Evers has stood firm. He has said that he will not hand those over. And, there's been a lot of people who have said, well, if you don't have anything to hide, just hand over the polls, the results.
That's the worst. That's the worst justification that people use for everything. If you got nothing to hide, you got nothing to hide. Going back real quick, we have a new texter who's listening in Madison. For the record, the attack on higher education started with Ronald Reagan. Maybe that's true. Why not? For some reason, people don't like it. Hey, we got to get a...
Let's break out of the bubble and see what's happening out there in pop culture. It's Swipe or Stay on Daybreak.
Thank you so much for joining us. It is 7:22 right now, and it is time for Swipe or Stay. Our senior producer, Frank, is going to join us because we are going to talk something that is non-political for exactly 7 minutes, and we're going to enjoy every second of it. Good morning. How are you today?
Morning, Frank.
I'm good. I think we enjoy it every morning, right?
I do.
We do, absolutely.
If you haven't heard it before, this is Swipe or Stay. I'm going to read some vague pop culture headlines. Brian and Jamie will have to decide whether they want to stay and hear more or swipe on to the next story in the event of a tie. Parker will be our tiebreaker and make the decision himself. Let's move on to story number 1. The Oscars announce new musical plans for Sunday.
Well, I always go back to the Rob Lowe Snow White musical number, so I'm going to stay.
I think we need some good Oscars news. It's getting close. I'll stay.
Okay. So the producers for the 98th Academy Awards have confirmed that we will have musical spotlights that go beyond performances for Sinners and K-pop Demon Hunters. Instead of presenting each Best Original Song nominee with a traditional live performance, producers have created cinematic segments that highlight how music shaped the storytelling in select films. Now, here's
that sounds
the
complicated. Can we just play some music?
Now, previously, up until last year, the Oscars always had, especially for like Best Original Song, you went up and performed it.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is why we got the masterpiece, which was Ryan Gosling doing I'm Just Ken from Barbie.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, we did not have any of those. They erased it. And they used the excuse that they wanted to use more of that time to promote funds for the wildfires that affected California.
Oh, right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like we're getting full performances again this year for every Best Original Song, which
Did
is
somebody
weird.
start a fire?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
But we are getting more production. They're being very vague with it, but I am very interested to see.
All right.
I do kind of wish they went back to the performances, though. I feel like they pick and choose. If there was a good one, they would have had them perform.
Maybe that's because the ratings keep getting lower every year and it keeps getting longer every year. So they have to figure out a way to like combo the two. By the way, Mr. Plow King over on our social media feed says that every time we play this game, he always hears Dora yelling at the fox, "Swipe or stay."
Swiper, no swiping. Swiper, no swiping. That's right, Mr. Plow King. We are all about Dora and exploring.
I loved Dora, by the way. My kids did too. Anyway, just had to throw that in there because it made me chuckle this morning.
At least with the Oscars, Conan O'Brien is hosting again, which I am happy
Yes.
about.
Yes.
Always good.
All right, we're going to move on to story number 2. Jack Osborne makes tribute to Dad.
Swipe.
Okay. Man. With a bit of an eye roll there. Good God.
I'm tired of hearing about the Osbornes. I hate that Ozzy isn't with us anymore. Tired of hearing about Kelly being too thin. And yeah, I'm ready to move on.
Okay.
Anyway, go ahead.
The Michael Jackson biopic has created some turmoil.
Oh, I'm going to
I know-
stay.
Yeah, I know this story. Stay.
So the Michael Jackson biopic is creating some internal turmoil in the Jackson family. Now, the movie is not out yet, but the movie was recently screened exclusively for the Jackson family, and now we have 2 family members that are fighting over it. Can we guess? Jamie says she already read this and knows. Brian, can you guess which Jacksons are fighting?
About the film. Which
Yeah.
Jacksons are fighting about the film? I'm going to say Tito, just because I love to throw Tito some attention every once in a while. Tito and Janet.
You got half right. Janet is part of it, and apparently Janet is the problem.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Miss
So-
Jackson, if you're nasty, Frank.
Sorry, Miss Jackson. Jermaine and Janet do not see eye to eye on it, according to insider sources. The source said that Janet was the only person who reacted negatively after the family's preview, saying even Janet's boyfriend cheered and said, "Now that's a movie."
Oh, wow.
Now, Jermaine's son Jafar is the star of the movie, so he stood up and gave a standing ovation.
Well, of course.
Jafar? That's his
Jafar.
name?
Javar Jackson. Yes.
And Janet Jackson declined to be a part of the production and is not featured in the movie at all.
Yeah,
Wow.
she's had some interest. She's been interesting in the entire Michael Jackson saga. She was out for a little bit, then she was very close to the kids for a little bit. Then she had her own child, and she stayed kind of off to the side for a while. And so now, obviously, she's embroiled back into the drama of the Jackson family.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of rumors of jealousy with their
Mhm.
relationship for years, so this isn't too surprising, but
All right.
at least the movie looks good to most of the family members.
Especially Jafar, who starred in it.
I should hope. Parker, do we have time for one more?
We got one more quick one, yeah.
One more quick one. All right. American Idol winner bashes the show.
Swipe.
Okay. Ticket website is forced to pay up.
Talked about this yesterday, didn't we?
Nope, this is
No,
different.
we talked about a lawsuit.
I'll stay.
I'm going to swipe. I want Parker to get involved.
I'm swiping.
Ooh, that's 2 days in a row he sided with me.
Lord. Oscar
Yeah.
nominated actor explains his eviction.
Oh, let's stay.
Stay.
Oh, now we're okay.
Yeah, because he's evicted. I want to see a
That's
man
right.
on the street who's all he's got. He's like the jerk. He's walking around. He's got his Oscar. That's all I need is this
Speaking
Oscar.
of jerk, Mickey Rourke is back in the news, at least this time for something that isn't exactly controversial. He wants to set the record straight about being evicted from his home. Rourke was evicted from his house after withholding over $60,000 in rent payments, and now he has come out to set the record straight that it was a rodent problem. And it wasn't getting fixed, and that's why he withheld the money. It's not because he didn't have it. Duh.
numbers.
Yeah,
But here's
a lot of parents, it's about 20%
Yeah.
of their yearly income is spent on childcare. 20%.
It's a lot.
Well, if
And
you can't afford it, maybe you should have thought of that before you had kids.
and here's the thing that we don't realize, and you alluded to numbers.
Yeah,
But
a
here's
lot
the
of
other-
a lot of parents, it's about 20%
Yeah.
of their yearly income is spent on childcare. 20%.
It's a lot.
Well,
And-
if
and-
you can't afford it, maybe you should have thought of that before you had kids.
And here's the thing that we don't realize, and you alluded to this, right? Childcare providers can't really afford to lower their prices because of the fact that it's a very labor-intensive industry that needs a lot of regulation. There's a lot of teacher-to-child ratios, and there's very strict laws about that in the state, especially for infants. In fact, in Wisconsin, one teacher can only care for 4 infants at a time, which means your providers are going to need more staff. There's staff wages that have to make up a majority of their operating costs. Obviously, if you know how to run a business or you've ever been involved in any sort of industry, you know that the costs continue to compound, especially when you're trying to, especially like childcare, where there's so many state standards that you have to reach and so many laws and rules, in order to be to continue to be licensed as a child care provider. I can't imagine. This is why I chose to stay at home.
It's the cost. And listen, Molly hasn't been in child care since 2001, 2002. So it's been a while. And even then we were near one of those, there weren't a lot of like in-home daycare places, so she went to one of those chain franchise deals, and it was nice. We were very happy with it, but it was, it was not cheap,
right?
And but that's what you got to do, if 2 people are working, and it's, the days of. I'm sure it was difficult for you financially when you're staying home, but nowadays, if you're used to having 2 incomes, and 2 incomes now is the norm. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people who live in that old paradigm of, well, one spouse goes to work and brings home, they're the breadwinner, and the other spouse stays home. That really doesn't exist anymore.
No.
So you have to be out there working, and just because you don't have a lot of money doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to have a child. So,
yeah. I mean, and that's one thing too. I talk with friends. I have friends who have littles yet all across this country. Some of them work. Some of them have chose to stay home. Some of them do an offset schedule with their significant others so that one can be home during the day, or however they've decided to work it. But the one thing that I also hear is not only is it the cost, but it's the fact that then if they do find a center, sometimes the list to get into that center are miles and sometimes months or even closer to a year or more long, because there's such a need for good quality childcare. And I think that's essentially where, a program like this Get Ready program can help, especially if you're looking at your 4-year-olds being able to be in a school setting all day long and getting not only care, but the education that, we feel like helps them, give them a leg up and things as they get into school.
It 100% does. Like I said, you see, and I've been in I've had to fill in numerous times in pre-K, and man, you talk about tired at the end of the day. I was beat. All these little knee-high people running around screaming.
Yeah.
There's crying. And then they all want to hug you, and I'm like, not that I don't like.
Sometimes that all happens within a couple of minutes from the same child.
Minutes. This is seconds. It's like.
Yeah.
But they do need. It's important. All of those, whether it's a daycare center or whether you're going into 4K programs, it does help a child. And it also helps the parents because there's somewhere they can trust to go. So they're going to try to iron this out. They got to see how many families are going to join because, of course, that means how much providers will get as far as money per student. So it's still all in the works, but it's promising. It's promising. We talked earlier about how the government doesn't really, the federal government doesn't seem to care about making people's lives easier. At least on a state level, we're trying.
I have a question for you as a former teacher. Does a schedule like this, if they did 4K all day, does that give the teacher more flexibility from where you came from?
Yeah, I mean, our pre-K was half days.
Okay.
And but I think in the daycare center, the more I was reading about this, they can move the learning times around, so you can still have your nap time and your snack time and your play time, and it all kind of weaves together anyway. So it does give more flexibility because you're not trying to cram everything into 2 hours. Plus, it gives the kids more time to get used to, because kindergartens, our kindergarten was full day. So you start getting the kids ready to, I'm going to have to do this, because kids get tired. After lunch in kindergarten, kids are exhausted. So am I. As it's time to...
And let's be realistic, when we're talking 4 and 5-year-olds, if you've ever been a parent and you remember those days, their attention span is pretty short anyway. So you have to have a lot of activity crammed in. And plus there has to be time for play and that hands-on and them using their imaginations.
Yes.
And there has to be all of that. And here's the thing. I have so much credit. I give so much credit to teachers. I really, truly do. I homeschooled my kids for completely different reasons, but I had friends who were teachers that I relied on to help me get through that process. And I had my own too. So I know what I felt like at the end of the day. So if you're a teacher or know somebody who's, kudos to you. You will always have my respect and my gratitude for what you do on a daily basis.
Buy a teacher a drink on a Friday if you run into them at a tavern. They definitely need it. When we come back, this is going to surprise you. ICE got all kinds of new vehicles, but for some reason they don't want to use them. And so now they sit. We'll talk about that after this. It's Daybreak, and this is the Civic Media Network.
Inspired livery on it.
This is my favorite purchase, though. 2 Mustang GT fastback coupes. There was an immediate request by the White House. So Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski just wanted to drag race. They were just, let's get two sweet rides.
They're probably matching his.
They are. They all. Yeah, they have the matching red, white, and blue flames and Donald Trump's head on the hood. Beautiful. Wow. Hey, the third hour's coming. If you're on MDX and you want to listen, you can do it on the app. So jump over there now. When we come back, the Supreme Court in Wisconsin is arguing over state settlement funds. We'll get to that and so much more. It's Daybreak on the Civic Media Network.
Want to join in on the conversation? Call or text 855-75-CIVIC. Now back to Brian and Jamie.
It's 8:06 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the Civic Media Network. That's a good song. I
always
like
like
that
this
bumper
bump.
That's a good bumper song. We appreciate you being here this morning. I am Jamie Martinson.
Hi, I'm Brian Noonan. We're glad you're here. If you want to jump in, 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Boy, I put out a jive voice for that, and I don't know why. Make sure you have the app.
Old school radio voice.
You do. I'm going to hit the post at some point today. But
Okay.
listen, we can't stress this enough. If you're bothered by it, trust us, so are we. But we're telling you this for a good reason. Go download, if you haven't already, the Civic Media app. Because not only can you listen wherever you are on this planet and perhaps others, I've never traveled outside of our galaxy, so I can't speak to that factually. But you can listen everywhere. You can listen to our show. You can listen to great interviews. Maybe you want to hear us talk about voting laws or gerrymandering or whatever it is. We have great guests come on, and you can find all of those interviews there. But really, you want to know, Brian, Jamie, what's in it for me, the listener? Why do I really need this? I don't want to listen to you while I'm strolling through a department store. I like listening on the radio. Good. We love you old school people. But come
Cash and
Monday,
prizes.
Jamie, cash and prizes.
Cash and prizes. That's all I need to say. Cash and prizes. We're going to start another multi-state text-to-win contest. You're going to have multiple chances to qualify throughout the day, and daily prizes of cash, big grand prize winner, but you can only qualify through the app. We'll, of course, give you more details as we get closer, and but for right now, go get your app, live it, love it, learn it, and be ready to use it on Monday because we want you to qualify for, again, cash and prizes.
Did you just live, laugh, love the
I
Civic
did.
Media app?
I did.
That's fantastic.
I thought you fast times at Ridgemont hide it.
Both.
Read it, learn it,
I'm
live
having
it.
major technical difficulties in here.
Uh-oh.
My headphones keep switching from stereo to mono, so this is the craziest thing happening in my head right now. But we'll
I'm
fix it
sorry,
later.
I'm pranking you because sometimes I only talk out of one side of my mouth, and that's throwing everybody off.
I don't know actually what's happening, but it's very strange. We'll fix it during a commercial break. The good part is I can still participate in the conversations.
But only half the time. So
It's
Parker,
fine.
please put all my audio in the left channel. So Jamie
on it
starts
now.
screaming, "What happened?"
It's
She
very
did.
strange right now.
Frank asked if she went full Mr. Hand. Well, Frank, no shirt, no shoes, no dice. Oh,
That's such a
my!
Ridgemont High, by the way. Great movie. Just saying.
It-
But we
it
do
is.
have more politics.
Did you ever see
we're gonna
that
talk
one,
about.
Parker?
I have no idea what any of you are talking about.
My God, we have to get a list.
I've never wanted to get to politics. So
All right, here's something else you could do. We're going to get into this story about a political struggle over state settlement funds, and I know you're on the edge of your seat going, thank God. But here's something. We are putting together a list. Our young, intrepid producer, Parker, doesn't get 99.7% of the references that
Right.
the three of us make.
very true.
Jamie, Frank, and I will make a reference, and Parker won't get it. So a lot of them are film related. If you have a film
Oh no.
that you think Parker should watch, please
Right.
text it to us or put it in socials in a comment, and we're going to develop a list, Parker's movie list. They're required that Parker watch it to maintain his employment here on this program.
Is that your list? Oh my God, it's such a
Oh,
long
you have a list already?
Yeah. Oh no, I've been like making this for a while. Yeah.
All right. Well,
It
folks,
is
you can
it is
add
a
to it
full
too.
Screen
Yeah, add
of
to
my
it too,
phone.
please. We would like for you to add to it because we might already have it on the list, but we got to make sure we cover all of our bases here.
Yeah.
I mean, Parker, if
Yeah.
you're going to be on this show, you got to understand where we're coming
That's
from
true.
with some of this.
Yes, I understand. I feel bad
Because
sometimes.
really,
it goes over my
some
head.
of
I
our
don't know.
references are brilliant, and you are
Yeah.
not getting them. And
You're not appreciating how awesome I am. I
Yeah.
need you to understand me better.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Essentially.
I
I
do.
agree.
I need you to get with the program, pal.
All right. I'm
All
with it.
right.
I'll get there.
Listen, speaking of getting with the program, enough frivolity. We've had gibberish, we've had glibness. Now we have to get to money. The Wisconsin
stuff.
Supreme Court heard arguments over who controls money from multi-state legal settlements that involve the state. The dispute is between the Republican-controlled legislature and Democratic Attorney General Josh Kaul.
Yeah.
And it all stems from lame duck laws, Jamie, and I know
Right.
you are chomping at the bit to explain lame duck laws.
Love the lame duck laws because they're fun to talk about, ridiculous in process and procedure.
They're
But,
fun to say.
But it goes back to 2018, and this all basically has to do with the argument of where settlement money must go into the state's general fund, which lawmakers control. Now, the legislature actually sued Kaul in 2021, claiming he improperly deposited settlement funds into a Department of Justice account instead. Now, he says his office followed the law. They placed the money in the state treasury and used it for legal costs and related enforcement programs. Initially, a judge in Polk County ruled in favor of Kaul. The Wisconsin Court of Appeals overturned that decision 2 years ago, though, siding with the legislature. So Kaul then asked the Wisconsin Supreme Court to review this particular case. Justices from both sides during the arguments questioned both legal teams, with one justice saying the issue may have been overcomplicated. You think?
That's scary when a Supreme Court justice goes, "Yeah, this is a little complicated for me, brother. I don't know."
But you mentioned it, Brian. This all stems back to what has been a bigger fight of lame duck laws passed in 2018 before Governor Evers and Kaul took office, which limited the powers of the incoming Democrats. So let's go back to 2018 for just a moment, in case we forgot about how we got here. Because these lame duck laws were passed in December of 2018 by the Republican-controlled legislature, and they were signed by then outgoing Republican Governor Scott Walker, and of course Robin Vos, major player in coming up with these lame duck laws. They were passed after the 2018 election, but before newly elected Democrats took office, including Evers and Kaul. The legislation included 3 separate laws. They were Acts 363, 69, and 370. The goal of the laws was to shift power away from the governor and attorney general to give more authority to the legislature. In fact, one provision required the attorney general to get approval from the legislature's Joint Finance Committee before settling certain lawsuits. Another provision allowed the legislature to step into lawsuits and hire private attorneys, using taxpayer money to defend state laws instead of relying on the attorney general. The laws also gave lawmakers more authority to block or delay administrative rules and policy changes proposed by state agencies. And in some cases, the executive branch would even have to ask the legislature for permission before making changes to programs like Medicaid or other public benefit programs.
If I may quote the Supreme Court, this is getting overcomplicated.
It essentially, to break it all down, took the power out of Governor Evers and Josh Kaul's hands and put it straight back into the Republican-controlled legislature. That's essentially what those lame duck laws did. Now, here's the problem that I would foresee with this, right? Obviously, multiple problems on how state government runs. It's no longer efficient. You're giving one party much more power than the other one. Is this Republican-controlled legislature going to be okay with these lame duck laws? Let's say, by chance, if Tom Tiffany would win the governorship later this year. Or would we see a complete reversal of all lame duck laws?
This is a tricky question. I'm going to give it a little more thought. I'm going to say no, right? No.
You could essentially bet that even as many strides as we've made, this is just me thinking out loud, as many strides as we've made in fairer maps and making a dent in the numbers of Democrats versus Republicans sitting in the state legislature, the Republicans are still going to probably have the majority, even if we make even more of a dent at some point. I do not foresee this legislature being okay with these lame duck laws that were so wildly and quickly pushed through under Scott Walker to hamper Tom Tiffany in the same way they were meant to tie the hands of Governor Evers and Josh Kaul.
It's funny how that goose and gander thing comes into play a lot in politics. When you go, oh, wait, we put these are going to work against us too? Yeah, that's how it goes, friends. It's a law. Doesn't matter who's in power. So live with the decisions and the choices that you have made.
I think it's interesting because, in 2024, we saw so many people sit out of that general election for various reasons. Republicans, Democrats. We saw people have various reasons for not wanting to vote in that election.
None of them good.
And none of them are good, whether it was they didn't like Kamala's laugh, whether they thought she was too much of a war hawk, whether they thought she wasn't going to be good to Palestine, whether she...
I'm sorry, can I go back to something? Too much of a war hawk?
Right.
Just checking. Okay.
The irony. I get it. There's irony involved.
Oh, where's Alanis when we need her?
But that song didn't actually have anything to do with irony at all. If you listen, English major, that song bothers me a ton.
Listen, you and just about anybody else who ever took an English class. But the reference is apt because the whole song is about being ironic.
It is.
That's Alanis Morissette, Parker.
This is one of those things where you have to look at why voting actually matters, right? And why it makes a difference. Because you look at the state of Wisconsin just as the for instance of why elections matter. One election controlled who controlled the governor's office, and the response was to literally scramble to rewrite the rules before the new administration even walked through the door and even been sworn in. And if you care about what happens in your state, if you're somebody who cares about these programs like Medicaid, SNAP benefits, potentially expanding Badger Care, if you care about the Get Ready program that we talked about earlier today, you got to get out there and vote. You have to, because voters, not politicians, are deciding how government works. They should not.
And when
have
does early voting
power.
start for the primary, Jamie? Let's remind folks.
It is March 24th when early voting starts, with, of course, the Supreme Court election coming up on April 7th.
All right, so a week from Tuesday, early voting starts. St. Patrick's Day, have a couple of pints, vote drunk. That's my new slogan. Vote drunk. It's not gonna get any traction, but Yeah. And please don't vote drunk.
No, don't vote drunk.
Don't vote drunk.
Unless that's the only
I don't
way
know.
you can
I listened to that
literally
guy on Daybreak, and he makes some good points. He doesn't know where to get an app, but he knows how to, voting drunk. At least it takes that bad taste out of my mouth when I have to close my eyes and just pick. But either way, that's...
I think this is going to be an interesting case, and for the record, the Supreme Court with Josh Kaul has not made a ruling on who ultimately controls the settlement money yet. That is still in deliberations. But I think after the court's ideological balance changed, new rulings in 2025 and 2026 have struck down several parts of these lame duck laws that were passed in 2018. Again, why you should get to the polls and actually cast a vote. In fact, in June of last year, the Wisconsin Supreme Court unanimously ruled that requiring legislative approval before settling certain lawsuits violated the separation of powers. Weird when you look at it from the actual law of it all instead of the politics of it all. There's still several legal fights that are ongoing with these lame duck laws, though, including questions about the legislature hiring private lawyers and who controls, obviously, the settlement money, which we're going to probably, hear a little bit about until we get a full official ruling. But, some parts of the lame duck rules are still in place, including certain legislative powers over Capitol security, and also specific appointment authority.
Well, good for them getting it done, and bad for them if they ever lose.
All in all, Evers has been fairly successful, even with these laws.
Even with them. When we come back, we mentioned the other day that the January 6th plaque finally went up in the Capitol. But where did they put it, and why is it now the focus of a lawsuit? We'll get to that and more. This is Daybreak. I'm Brian Noonan.
It's 8:19. I am Jamie Martinson. You are listening to the Civic Media Network.
Now back to more of Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
It's 8:35 right now. We hope that you are having a great Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're listening in Eau Claire on 93.5 The Tap, or in La Crosse on WLCX, or in Appleton and Oshkosh on WISS, just a few of the stations that you can catch us on this morning. We are glad that you are here. I am Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Don't put away your winter clothes just yet. Cold weather and possibly snow coming across Wisconsin. So that's good news.
Have you seen any robins yet?
No, but my daffodils started blooming the other day.
Oh, okay.
I was like, what is it? Are these weeds? And I went, oh, no, that's where the daffodils come up. So, but they're going to be dead after this weekend.
We're living in that very weird time of year where it doesn't know if it's going to be spring or winter, and we just suffer the consequences because we are hardy Midwesterners and we say we like it, and let's be real, we don't. Nobody
likes it.
No, nobody likes this time of year. No.
We also don't like when a plan is not fully thought out as a country, especially when it comes to war, and a president who can't really envision the end of the war because he didn't really give us any reason why we got into the war, and he keeps changing his mind. Now, he's gone if you haven't been listening, and I don't blame you if sometimes you have to tune out. He has cycled from calls for unconditional surrender to sounding amenable to an end state in which Iran trades one hardline Ayatollah for another, which they already did, to, that we're bombing them and he will decide when it all ends. But we don't really know how or when or why this is going to end other than the presidential whims, which doesn't seem like a plan more than a toddler having a tantrum. So it's starting to get confusing, and even some Republicans now are like, what's the end game here?
Right. Well, and I think it also adds to the confusion when he says one thing and within an hour his aides come out to a podium and say something completely different. Then he speaks later that day and says yet the opposite of what they said and what he said earlier in the morning. So it's this never-ending cycle. And honestly, this is a 12-day conflict and nobody is budging. Even though this administration says that Iran is depleted, they've lost all of their navy, they're not budging. The attacks continue. 14 countries are now embroiled into this. There's this unpredictable path, and the end game is essentially unclear. But we have Pete Hegseth, who keeps marching out to a podium.
Just Pete.
And, of course, Defense Secretary keeps saying that Trump has it all under control. And, in fact, earlier this week when he addressed the nation at the press conference with the Joint Chief of Staff, he said that the timeline for this entire war is completely up to the president. Let's hear from Pete Hegseth, please.
Where we are is in a very strong place, giving the President of the United States maximum options. And from the beginning, from this podium, we haven't stated how long it will take. Our will is endless. Ultimately, the President gets to determine the end state of those objectives, right? But what he's said continually, and I want the American people to understand, is this is not endless. It's not protracted. We're not allowing mission creep. The president has set a very specific mission to accomplish, and our job is to unrelentingly deliver that. Now, he gets to control the throttle. He's the one deciding, he's the one elected on behalf of the American people when we're achieving those particular objectives. And so it's not for me to posit whether it's the beginning, the middle, or the end. That's his, and he'll continue to communicate that.
Okay.
Here's a little breaking news.
Yeah.
Parker Senate, I had just seen it. The AP put this out. ABC News has put this out. Iran's new supreme leader says that Iran will level the closing of. They're going to use this closing of the Strait of Hormuz as leverage. I don't know what this headline is. And that attacks on neighboring Gulf Arab countries are going to continue. So much for the apology that was issued the other day from Iran. No surprise there either that Iran is not being forthcoming when they talk.
No.
But, Yeah. So this, again, it goes back to what was our plan. We had no plan for this. We did not think that they would close the Strait of Hormuz and that it would cast the world into an economic crisis. If we didn't think that out, it shows again how unqualified our leaders are about this kind of thing. But you listen to Pete. We're giving him maximum options. What are maximum options? You mean multiple options? You mean, okay. And then this week, Donald Trump spoke at a Republican gathering, and he said, in the short term, things could be a little dicey. We don't know. Cut 7.
Our country is doing really well. I mean, at a level that nobody thought. We took a little excursion because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil. And I think you'll see it's going to be a short-term excursion. How good is our military, right? Amazing. How good? Short-term. Short-term. And because of Republicans, you people in Congress, the United States has by far the strongest and most powerful military on the face of the earth. We're the strongest military anywhere on the earth, and now everybody understands it. Together with our Israeli partners, we're crushing the enemy in an overwhelming display of technical skill and military force.
No, Gilligan, you're not taking a 3-hour tour.
Right.
And first of all, the world knew the strength of the United States military. That was beyond question. And that is the cheapest, and I've seen, being a performer, I've seen everybody, hey, how about that military, folks? Hey, it's great to be in Madison. Hey, it's a pandering applause line that if it didn't get applause, I would have been more shocked than the fact that he actually used it to pander to this group, to deflect away from what's really happening, because who's not going to clap for, hey, how about our military?
Right. And is it a little shocking to hear the president kind of explain this like he went on a vacation and he decided to detour from the itinerary and go over to the town just a little off for a couple days just to, it's shocking.
It goes back to the cavalier attitude of the service people, American servicemen and women were dying.
Right.
Hey, that's what happens. We took a little excursion. We were there. The resort was a little boring, so one day we went snorkeling. It was a little excursion. Took it a short term. We came back. Short term excursion.
Now,
Frank from Poinet texts in. He's listening to WXCO. He says it's a toss up on which one is worse to listen to, Trump or Pete. Yeah, that's true.
Well,
it's easier to laugh at Pete.
It is.
Because he's not the one making the final decisions. Trump is scarier to listen to.
And he also has, Pete also has some generals yet with morals and career abilities and around him to help guide things. It feels like the president's just at a podium with no guardrails whatsoever. Now, because on Monday in that same press conference and same speech he gave to Republicans, he essentially said that we've won this war, but not enough. Cut 8, please.
We've already won in many ways, but we haven't won enough.
So we're winning very decisively. We're way ahead of schedule. Our military is the greatest in the world, with the greatest equipment and the greatest people in the world. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We're very proud to be involved in this, and it's going to be ended soon. And if it starts up again, they'll be hit even harder.
Is he like a coach that's running up the score? Is that because once you've won, by definition, you have defeated your opponent.
Right.
So you can only win one way. You either won or you didn't win.
I mean, here's the thing. How much more are we going to, and I'm going to put this in air quotes, win?
Jamie, you're not going to be able to handle all the winning. There's so much winning. We're winning.
Oil prices are skyrocketing. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. That carries 20% of the world's oil, not to mention most of the trade routes run through the Strait of Hormuz. So we are talking about inflated gas prices. We're talking about inflated shipping costs. We are talking about the price of goods as we know them every day skyrocketing in price. We have no defined objective for this war. We have no idea when it's going to end, but we have not won enough, I guess, question mark? Because what do the American people say when they're looking at their pocketbooks, when they're looking at what's happening, when they're looking at how they're going to pay their bills? Do they say, oh no, I think we won enough, like mercy? Like,
have you owned the libs enough? We get it. Okay, you win. You win. This going back and forth has gotten criticism not only from you and I, Jamie. I know sometimes it feels like we're shouting on our lawn into a void, but other people are starting to criticize this too. Senator Mark Kelly, who you may remember Pete Hegseth has gone after, Senator Mark Kelly, who's a Democratic senator from Arizona, said there's basically no goals in this war. Cut 9, please.
Yeah, they don't have a plan. I don't think there was a strategic goal here, and they're flailing around. So no goal, no timeline. What that leads to is just more U.S. service members in a really, really challenging spot.
And Mark Kelly would know. He's a decorated veteran. He served his time. He was in the Middle East, so he would kind of know. Alicia chiming in over in our YouTube chat today saying the strength of our military has nothing to do with the political party.
Right.
It is all training. The fact that Trump accredited a political party to our power is disgusting. But that's what he bases his power on, right? He bases his view of himself and the United States in this world.
He's the commander-in-chief, Jamie. He runs the show. He's the boss of the military. So by osmosis, he has become mighty and ferocious and the best in the world, which, again, false.
Now, what I think we should also worry about, especially here in Wisconsin and across the country, but we do have a lot of military families in this state. Trump's team has tried to soothe people who are very anxious that the war will not be long and drawn out, even though he's insisted that he hasn't insisted on anything. We don't know what the timeline is. But he has insisted that they aren't going to, that he has not ruled out, I should say, that the use of ground troops. Cut 10, please.
What are the circumstances where you'd send in ground troops? How are you thinking about that?
I don't even want to talk about it now. I mean, I don't think it's an appropriate question. I'm not going to answer it. Could there be? Possibly, for very good reason. Have to be very good reason. And I would say if we ever did that, they would be so decimated that they wouldn't be able to fight at the ground level.
If you're a military family, how does that make you feel right now? Hearing him say, I don't know. I don't really know.
Again, it will be the same. A decision on deployment is going to be the same as the decision to bomb. What does Israel want? What does Jared and Pete, what do they say to him? Because he has no ability to listen to either the military leaders or the intelligence community, he makes these decisions, and our men and women are just the pawns in his game, and his need for control and his need for power. And he's going to do what he wants, and the lives of those service members be damned.
We've already lost 7. Hundreds have been wounded, some seriously wounded. There's been thousands of civilian lives lost. Here in this country, we're worried if you're a service member and you're a service member family, are you going to be deployed? We're watching our prices on basically everything across the board skyrocket. And we basically get, I don't know.
I don't know, and we're winning. So don't believe when you look in your wallet. Don't believe it. Believe what you're being told. But listen, Jamie, here's the good news. He's buying everybody shoes. Everybody, you get a shoe, and you get a shoe, and you get a shoe. We'll talk about it when we come back. It's Civic Media Network. Tomorrow, thank you for listening. Thank you for jumping in. We will talk to you again tomorrow. I'm Brian Noonan.
I'm Jamie Martinson, 859, the Civic Media Network.
Tomorrow, thank you for listening. Thank you for jumping in. We will talk to you again tomorrow. I'm Brian Noonan.
I'm Jamie Martinson, 859, the Civic Media Network.